Happy Juneteenth, everyone. In honor of this holiday, I'll be doing a story time for you. We'll read two books. We're going to read Juneteenth for Mazie by Floyd Cooper, which is published by Capstone Young Readers. And we'll also read All Different Now. Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom by Angela Johnson with illustrations by E.B. Lewis. And this is published by Simon & Schuster. I'll also show you a craft, how to make a mini-djembe, which is a traditional African drum from West Africa.
Today I'm going to read to you a book entitled All Different Now, Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom. And this book is written by Angela Johnson and illustrated by E.B. Lewis. A June morning breeze off the port blew the smell of honeysuckle past the fields across the yard and into our rooms to wake us. And nobody knew as we ate a little, talked a little, and headed to the fields as the sun was rising, that soon it would be all different. Then we worked and worked and worked some more under the hot Texas sun until the word spread from the port to town, through the countryside and into the fields. That a Union general had read from a balcony that we were all now and forever free. And things would be all different now. I watched as my Aunt Laura sang as she held her baby. Mr. Jake, who some say was 100, cried quickly. And a group of grown people bowed their heads and whispered things to each other I could not hear. My mama held my hand softly and looked beyond as another breeze blew over and everything fell to a hush. But later, Papa, Mama, the aunts and uncles, and all of my cousins had an afternoon picnic by the water. My baby brother crawled around our blanket as we listened to the sounds of the waves. As more people joined us, we ate as a free people, laughed as a free people, and told stories as free people on into the night. What was before would be no more. As we walked back home, the cool of the night soothed our tired feet that padded quietly past the shadowy fields of cotton. And in the morning, the smell of honeysuckle will wake me again beside my sisters and brother to a time that will be for all of us. All different now. The end.
Our Juneteenth craft project is going to be to make a mini-djembe. A djembe is a traditional drum found in West Africa, and they've become very popular here in the United States the last few years. So, what you'll need is, I've assembled a group of materials here, and I'll see as I go what I'll need. But I've got a couple of small little cups, plastic cups, and what you'll need is something that can be fairly sturdy to stretch your drum skin over a drum head. So I've got a rubber, a latex balloon purple that I might use. I'm going to try to use that first. And I've also got a medical glove, this black medical glove, I may need that because it's a little flatter in parts. So I've got some scissors to cut it. I've got a smaller cup too. But I might do like a double like that. So that's the shape of the djembe usually. And it's usually carved out of a single piece of wood. But in our case, we're going to do it this way. And I'll try to stretch the balloon over top of there. I've got a couple of rubber bands to hold it in place, but I've also got some duct tape as well, because I might need something stronger and probably use duct tape there. And then I've also got some washi tape, which is a decorative tape. So you could use colored duct tape if you want, or you can use a cloth white tape, and you could color it. These have got some patterns that I just thought, well, these might work. So give us a more traditional look. So we'll see what we come up with. So far, so good. Still got a pretty good sound. And so here's our mini-djembe. Not a bad sound. I ended up using the balloon, as you saw in the pictures and the video. And it got a pretty good tension on it. I also didn't nestle it inside the other one, so if I need to repair it, I can. Just to replace it. So now a traditional djembe, like I said, is going to be carved out of one single piece of wood, a log. And so it would have a hole here, and you put it between, like a person would sit with it between their legs, and then they could use their arms on top. And I think probably having that hole that goes all the way through and holding it like that allows for more sound out of it. So if you have a cardboard tube, like, well, this one's pretty thick, but yeah, you know, if you got a bigger one, you could do that. Or if you had a 5-gallon bucket, a couple of 5-gallon buckets, you could cut the bottom, maybe have your parents help you cut the bottom out of each of them, or a hole through them, and then tape those together or screw those together. That might work to make a full-size one. And then you'd stretch something across the top to create that membrane that's going to give you a nice tight drum. So there you go. But a little fun finger one. That's kind of nice. And again, happy Juneteenth. Juneteenth for Mazie by Floyd Cooper. Capstone Young Readers. Copyright 2015. Mazie wants to play outside, but it is too late. It's getting dark, Mazie. It's time to stay inside. Mazie wants a cookie, but it is time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Mazie wants to stay up late, but she is too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asked Dad. I can't go where I want, have what I want, or do what I want, answered Mazie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asks Mazie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-great-grandpa Mose crossed into liberty. The day will be celebrated by us and many more families on a day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Mazie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-great-great-Grandpa Mose heard no even more. Grandpa Mose worked in fields that stretched all the way to sunset. He and the other slaves would be bone tired, but they had to keep going. Their masters wouldn't let them quit. But as they worked, they thought about freedom. And before they finally went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some slaves ran north to freedom, following a bright star in the sky. They sweat, they bled, and they cried till those cries were quieted by a single proclamation from a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard that proclamation read from the balcony of the hotel on that warm June day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked, and they saved, and they never forgot the moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing, the dancing became celebrating, it went on and on into the night. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggled to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equals. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up. And every year on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs. They lobbied for schools and the right to vote. They shouted for opportunity. And every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. They became heroes. Now, sweet Mazie, it's your turn to celebrate just like great-great-great-Grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Mazie, to eat some barbecue and drink some strawberry pop. It's your turn to celebrate. And to remember. And to finish things off, I'm going to treat you to a rendition of "Oh Freedom," which is a traditional song that African Americans have sung at various times in our history to celebrate their freedom. This is a modern-day six-string banjo. The banjo is a traditional instrument from Africa, and they adapted it here in the country. I'm going to show you some historic photos that I've gotten from a variety of sources, and I'll put a link up to the different sources up here. But there's photos of people who were slaves and photographs of them after they were emancipated, after they were freed. So they were free people after living for most of their lives as slaves. There are some photos of early Juneteenth parades and celebrations, people decorating floats. And then there's some photographs from more recent times. Enjoy the song, enjoy the photos, and have a happy Juneteenth.
before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more segregation, no more segregation, no more segregation over me, and before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more discrimination, no more discrimination, no more discrimination over me, and before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave